when you're on ecstasy, you really realize like all the hitches in your personality, all the things that are holding you back. It made me. I only did it once, but it made me completely aware of insecurity that I didn't even know existed.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah, you do it, you trip out. It's very interesting.
I'm super into it. I had another friend recommend that, and I'd be down because it's also like, you know, and something else I'll say, not to speak for all women, like I'm not the face of all women, but like with this administration, if you're a sexual trauma survivor, seeing this fucking guy on the news every day can be really triggering.
Did you see his post about the Women's March? His Twitter
Joe,
post was hilarious.
I literally can't read the news anymore because I'm too activated, and I'm going crazy. Yeah. I'm way too activated. Like seeing a sexual predator or someone I deem to be a sexual predator with all the women that have come forward in the news every day is activating my trauma response of.
I think he's a predator. I don't think it's just sexual. I think he's a predator in business. I think he's a predator in politics. I think I mean, if you look at the way he campaigned, you know, like about the Hillary Clinton, lock her up.
Yeah.
Is predatory.
Yes, correct. He's a bully.
Yeah, well, he's a fucking winner. I hate to say it that way.
Can I tell you, do you remember, I think it was, I don't know if it was the primaries or it was like when Ben Carson was still in the mix and they were all lined up. And I remember seeing, and this was when we all thought it was like a joke, and he called all of them out. He was like, you've asked me for money, and you've asked me for money, and you've asked me for money. And I was like, that's fucking hot. Like the reptilian brain was like, oh shit, like that guy's a fucking winner. And he's not scared of anything. And with the sound off, I'm like, that's the alpha. If shit hits the fan, I'm following that guy.
He's old. He's lived a long life. He's on speed.
He's a malignant narcissist.
And he has a lot of money. And there's all these reports that he's on diet pills.
Do you believe that syphilis theory?
I don't know that.
That when you have, can you look this up, B? As if you haven't already today?
Do you know the diet pill thing, though?
No. Is that like caffeine or is it like
Yes. Well, he's on some sort of amphetamines, apparently, according to several sources. One of them that tracked his prescription from Duane Reade Pharmacy in New York from a few years back, that he was on this one type of amphetamine for like 8 years.
Do you have to take drug tests if you're the president?
No.
I don't even know.
No, you don't.
Wow.
No. This is amazing. You have to take a drug test if you work for UPS.
Wow.
You don't have to take a drug test if you have the fucking nuclear football.
How is that not?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It doesn't. Meanwhile, Jeff Sessions is fucking trying to take pot away from everybody, and Donald Trump's popping pills. So I don't know if he's really popping pills. I just should say this, but what I've read is that what he's taking, what they believe he's taking, is. Do you remember Fen-Phen?
No.
Fen-Phen was some shit that went on in the 90s. Oh. It was a diet pill that they had to stop taking because it was super effective for people, but it was essentially speed. They lost their appetite and everybody lost weight.
Dexatrim? Do you remember that diet pill? I took that like when I was in high school and had an eating disorder.
That's similar. All these things are similar because they're amphetamines. They're speed. They're all stimulants. Yeah. And there's one of the ingredients in Fen-Phen. When the two of them are combined together, Fen-Phen is two different things. And see if you can find that story about what they think that he's on.
And the syphilis.
But it gives you delusions of grandeur. That's the thing. Like literally one of the symptoms. First of all, think about the amount of energy this guy had running for president, giving these long speeches, never seemed tired. Yeah. Rumored doctor prescribed Donald Trump cheap speed. Look at this fucking picture. That picture's amazing. Who made that picture?
I'm triggered.
Who's Jim Cook? Jim Cook, you're a fucking wizard. Whoever you are.
His neck looks like a fucking elephant ear.
My applause. That made me laugh hard. The orange is perfect. It's like such but just exaggerated just enough. The eyes.
I'm glad you're enjoying this. He looks like your rock salt lamp.
You got to be able to laugh while this is going on. You can't freak out. Okay. Rumors of Trump's predilection, I love that word, predilection for stimulants first started really popping up in 1992 when Spy magazine wrote, "You ever wonder why Donald Trump has acted so erratically at times, full of energy, of manic energy, paranoia, and wow, what is that word? Garrulous?
Where is it? Garrulous.
Garrulous? You ever use that word?
Garrulous is like, I thought like cheerful, like garrulous.
Well, you're speeded up. Well, he was a patient of Dr. Joseph Greenberg's from 1982 to 1985. At the time, Dr. Greenberg was notorious for allegedly doling out prescription stimulants to anyone who would pay, blah, 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 diet drugs, which Trump took in pill form.
How can you be on diet drugs and also be fat?
Because he's eating a lot of terrible things.
Oh.
Okay, this is the stuff. Okay, Fen-Phen. It's called Fen-Phen. phentermine first gained notoriety in the U.S. under the name fen-phen, a miracle combination of phentermine and fenfluramine, another established anti-obesity drug. The two of them together. The only problem was when the patients taking the drug began reporting damage to their hearts and lungs. Apparently, the combination destroyed the patient's bodies. So he's not taking both of them. He's taking one. Phentermine on its own, however, is still prescribed.
Trouble with thinking, speaking, or walking, decreased ability to exercise, false or unusual sense of well-being, insomnia, nervousness. And this is my suicide note.
Increase in sexual ability, desire, drive, and
that's
performance.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Confusion.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, so this is doctor prescribed.
Yes, this is what I think.
Why wouldn't you just take Adderall?
Well,
yeah.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing.
Got it.
Adderall is
will you look up the syphilis theory, Trump?
Adderall is essentially like incredibly similar. There it is, a medical theory. Many mental health professionals believe the president is ill, but what if the cause is an untreated STD?
So apparently syphilis untreated creates like reddening of the face, manic behavior, I can't read this.
But his face is pale. It's orange skin color.
Oh, is that self-tanner?
Yeah, if you look at his eyes.
Syphilis.
That's why his eyes are white. Like all around his eyes, like a raccoon, they're white.
Okay, it's characterized by the development of an ulcer, usually genital, a few weeks and a few months after sexual contact with the infected person. If the ulcer is not noticed, secondary stage of the disease is seen in some patients. Weeks or months later, these patients may develop a variety. Thank you.
Look at you. You're leaning towards
I know.
it. Like you're so obsessed.
Because I can't see. Rash fever. I want to get to the...
it's right behind you, too.
Oh, I can't swivel. I hurt my back. I told you that. I hurt my back on your fucking Segway. Just
no, you didn't.
Trying
you
to impress
fall.
you. I'm suing you.
You didn't even
I'm
fall.
suing you.
We have video cameras everywhere in this place. You're not getting
and
a
you know how to use a bow and arrow. I'm not suing you.
Neuropsychiatric disorder, neurosyphilis. Symptoms of neurosyphilis are protean.
That means like changing.
Varying widely from one individual to another.
Irritability, loss of ability to concentrate, delusional thinking, and grandiosity. Memory, insight, and judgment can become impaired.
Maybe he's got everything and they're duking it out inside of his
system. He got syphilis in the fucking 80s from Stormy Brown or whoever, and now he's fucking got delusional thinking and grandiosity.
Okay, Stormy Brown
patchy
right now
hair loss.
Pissed off.
And then it also makes your hair like fluffy and just exactly like his.
He's fucking 90 years old. You're going to lose your hair. There's like a history of his hair loss. Look at all those girls. I banged her.
That's amazing.
I banged her. And I banged her. I came on her feet.
That's kind of amazing. Anyway, so I mean, you can see why we're all a little triggered.
Yeah, but I think people are reaching for straws. I mean, he just got that was interesting. The doctor that examined him and said that he probably, if he had a good diet, he'd live to be like 200 years old. He's got just great genes. That doctor that examined him, I was like, this doctor?
The guy that killed Michael Jackson is his doctor? Who is this guy?
But here's the thing. After he did that, then Sanjay Gupta examined the actual results. Yeah. And Sanjay Gupta said, well, no, there's actually an issue here. And the issue is something to do with arteries and something to do with the potential for future stroke or heart attack. And he was basing it on actual test results. And obviously, I don't know jack shit about medicine, but see if you can find out what he said. He's a common form of heart disease. Yeah. See, scroll up and see if you can find what it said there. Yeah, here it is. This is what it is. Dr. Ronnie Jackson disclosed Trump's basic lab measurements, physical exam, and the conclusion of a cognitive exam known as the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. Additionally, the president had an echocardiogram of his heart as well as a stress test, both described as normal. Although it's not a part of the official medical records that were released yesterday, after further questioning, Jackson also revealed that Trump underwent coronary calcium CT scan. Now, this is it. His score was 133, and anything over 100 indicates plaque is present and that the patient has heart disease. According to Trump's official records, in 2009, his coronary calcium score was 34.
Does a president have an obligation to be in shape? I mean, wasn't Robert Taft like notoriously obese? Like, do you have to be in shape to be the president? I don't know the answer.
That's a good question.
Like, are there certain boxes you have to check?
But what I'm getting out of this is it's Sanjay Gupta, who is an unconnected third party who's unbiased is going basically just off of these coronary calcium CT scans.
Yeah.
And what he's showing is the difference between how it was in 2009, which was 34, 2013, which is 98, and then 2018, which is 133.
So you're saying it's increased,
yes,
basically doubled every
it's bad.
Couple years.
It's bad. Everything over 100 indicates heart disease.
I'm not going to say anything else bad. I'm worried I'll get death threats.
Were you worried that you want him to get this?
No, I just, you know.
Just go ahead, say it. No one's listening.
What's that? Yeah, millions of fucking people. You know, but I think that's the other thing. I think we're all sort of just especially angry, like when you were talking about the pendulum swinging so hard of women. It's like having to see this constantly every day in the news. This guy it's hard. It's really hard and depressing.
Trying to be objective, this is what I find fascinating about it, is that obviously this is an aberration. Like no one's ever seen something like this before. No one's ever seen a president. There's a video that was on, go to the typical liberal Instagram page. There's a video of him saying no one is better at blank than him, and it's like a video that was actually put together by people to mock him, but the Trump supporters actually love it. Yeah, play this, because 24 things nobody is better at than Trump.
Nobody can do it like me. Nobody can do it like me. Honestly.
Nobody's stronger than me.
Nobody has better toys than I do.
There's nobody bigger or better at the military than I am.
Nobody loves the Bible more than I do. Nobody builds walls better than me. Nobody's better to people with disabilities than me. Nobody's fighting for the veterans like I'm fighting for the veterans.
There's nobody that's done so much for equality as I have.
There's nobody more pro-Israel than I am. There's nobody more conservative than me.
There's nobody that respects women more than I do.
Oh, really?
Nobody would be tougher on ISIS
had I
than
known.
Donald Trump.
Nobody's ever had crowds like Trump has had.
There's nobody that understands.
But here's the thing: before the internet, you could say shit like this and get away with it because no one could check you on it. He belongs in the 1800s when you could just lie to crowds of people and they couldn't corroborate it.
I know what it means. Nobody knows more about trade than me. Nobody knows the game better than I do. Nobody in the history of this country has ever known so much about infrastructure as Donald Trump. Nobody can do it like me. Nobody.
I feel like people who actually do know shit do the opposite. They're like, look, I'm not a scientist. I don't know that much about this. Like, are more humble about it.
I wish he wasn't president because I love him. I love what a character he is.
He's entertaining.
He's fascinating. But that's fascinating. But it's just like,
but he has power is the problem.
That's the problem.
And he's doing horrible things.
Just a character, and as the host of a reality show, he's a gem. I mean, it's such a freak.
Oh, to be on a reality show, great. Sign me up. But to be running the most powerful country in the world, well, I don't know, maybe China is now, but is really, really scary.
Well, it's just fascinating, the supporters, too. Like, I love reading his supporters, because I'm always trying to figure out which ones are Russians. Like, how many of these are Russian bots?
A lot of them are women.
There's a few that are women, But what are those?
A lot of women voted for him.
What's the deal with those girls?
You know, here's what I'll say. And I have some family who voted for him who are in, you know,
exile.
But no, they're just in working class, and their whole thing is like, we don't care. All we care about is the bottom line in our jobs. It's actually kind of a luxury, and that's I think a fair flaw with what's happening with this, you know, women's, you know, movement conversation is right now the people getting the most visibility are fucking millionaires. You know, that's sort of for the most part who's speaking up right now, and like, you know, that's what Time's Up is for, to enfranchise people who don't have the kind of resources to just be like, you know what, you're mistreating me, I'm going to quit my job. You know, a lot of people can't quit their job and they have to tolerate sexual harassment and whatever, and they don't really have a choice in the matter. They have to stay in bad relationships because they can't afford to get their own place or whatever. But all they heard was jobs. Their thing is like, we don't care anything about his character. We think all politicians are assholes. We just want jobs. And that's what he said he was going to promise, and he lied. You know, so they were just like sort of played. Lying? Well,
isn't there more jobs now than ever before, and isn't the unemployment as low as it's ever been?
But he was promised. I mean, health insurance. I think they also thought they were going to get this like magical health insurance reform, which they didn't get. But there was also he was promising like coal mine jobs,
which is so crazy.
A lot of my family members like, we're going to work in coal mines. I'm like, you realize that's 50,000 jobs, right? Yeah. And it's starting to become obsolete. So he promised kind of jobs that I think, the pipeline and shit like that. So I think that, you know, and they just watch Fox News and they believe everything that's and they think like liberal news is a lie, you know? So I think it's like the kind of jobs that they promised. And I think that you're exactly right. It's like, their whole thing is unemployment going up is what helps women because more women can get jobs.
But isn't it a case where when you see like unemployment and how more people are doing better than before and the economy is doing better than it's ever been before, isn't this like a natural cycle? Like, wasn't it already charting in that direction when Obama was leaving office?
I was going to say, I think it's the president that's like 4 years prior that usually is what causes it. Because you can't just like become president and all of a sudden there's more jobs. It's something that has to start a little bit earlier. I'm not saying Obama. I don't know enough about it.
When Obama got into office, everybody was blaming him, like right away.
Correct, even though that's probably what the president before him caused.
Sure. Here it goes.
So
the economy gained a net 11.5 million jobs. The unemployment rate dropped below the historical norm.
So 4%.
Average weekly earnings for all workers were up 4.1% after inflation. The gain was 3.7%. Where just production and non-supervisory employees after tax corporate profits also set records, as did stock profits. S&P 500 index rose 166%. There was some story about how the tax break that we got here because of Trump that people got, that California was going to somehow or another impart some sort of a 10% surcharge to counterbalance that. And I was like, what? But then they said it was all going to like social programs. So I'm like, well, that's a good thing. I'm all for paying more taxes if those taxes can go to poor communities. That's what I feel like. I feel like if there's one thing that we need to concentrate on in this country, is people that are disenfranchised and live in poor communities that don't feel like there's any hope. And then setting up community centers, setting up some education programs, setting up safe places where kids can go and they don't have to worry about gang violence and shit, and just making it safer for people and giving them more opportunities to possibly get out of that fucking horrible cycle of unemployment and fucking welfare and crime
and
that
for
so
me,
many people are stuck in.
And I completely agree. And when I think about that, I'm like, oh, you know, and this is just my point of view because of what I come from, and maybe it's being a woman, a female brain, whatever. But like when I hear that, I'm like, the thing that perpetuates that cycle is having kids too soon and having a lack of access to birth control and education. And this administration is a huge threat to that, an enemy to that. So I'm like, what?
Right, but why is
what depletes you faster than a kid?
Well, is that just a straight up Republican thing? Pull this thing.
I'm so sorry. I always have this problem.
Don't have it like here,
I always do this. Why? What does this say about me?
Make it like a fist.
Do any of your other guests have this problem?
Yes,
okay. Okay, good. Okay.
I used to do it before I did a podcast.
Terrible
I do radio
this.
shows. They'd always yell at me because I wasn't in the mic. But why is it a Republican thing? It's always a Republican thing to try to deny women birth control, to try to restrict abortion. This is always a Republican thing.
Because I think it probably boils down to religion.
Yes.
And I still can't understand why religion is the reason that people think women have to be cows and fucking have.
Never religious. This is what's so crazy.
Yeah, well, he used to. I mean, I think a lot of it's kind of like he's conveniently now super pro-life or something.
Nobody likes the Bible more than I do.
Nobody hates abortion more than me.
I wish I could do it.
I can't do an impression. I was just thinking, right? You don't. It's chilling. I don't want to hear it. Last thing we need is more fucking Trump impressions at the Comedy Store. I'm good. But
Steve Byrne has a really good one.
Really?
It's really good.
I would not have seen that coming.
No, I didn't see it coming either. He did it the other night. I went, whoa! What? He nails it.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah, he nails it. Yeah.
I have to process that later.
He does the finger thing.
That's great. I mean, Alec Baldwin's is like fucking just next level. But yeah, I think it's religiously sort of based and hubris based. I mean, just the idea that women shouldn't have control over their own bodies. It's just like, why do you want me to have kids that I'm not ready for? It depletes our economic system. It means everyone else has to pay more taxes. It puts more people on welfare. All the things that Republicans hate.
Do you think that it's a vulnerability thing? They like women to be vulnerable?
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
And they want control over
complete
Yeah.
Control over people they've never met. Why do you want to control the uterus of a woman that lives 10 states down from you? How does that benefit you?
I think there's a sick thing that people have where they want to control people in a lot of ways. I think that's a lot of when you see people that are trying to control people's language, when you see people that are trying to restrict.
Don't say this, say this word, don't say this word.
I think there's a weird instinct that we need to address when you outside of ideology, outside of political lines that you cross, there's a weird instinct that people have to try to control people.
It's just a fear-based thing, or it's a habit,
or it's a thing that people do. They don't have much control of themselves, and they want to control their people. And I think this is where bullying comes from, and I think this is where a lot of what sexual harassment and just the entitlement the way bosses behave when they're employed, like this is one of the things about Harvey Weinstein that I found fascinating, is that he would bark at his employees, and they would run and.
It's funny, you're in my thought. No, back up. You're not in my thoughts at all.